Hello again, it's me. Right, so this is the video that I should have made this morning on the way up towards the market, but something more pressing came up, so I did that one. So this one, it's more, you need to have an understanding of the spiritual realm to get where I'm coming from on this. So at this point in time, as we speak, I'm at my sister's place still, where I have been, if you like, trapped, because I've looked at it like, I've questioned, but you've got to look at all the angles, because oftentimes when people are doing a good deed, which people keep telling me oh so good, because I'm there with my sister, I've given up my life and I'm looking after my sister. Not everything that looks good is good, if you know what I mean. Not everything that looks bad is bad. So we don't necessarily judge things by the appearance. So for me, I have questioned whether it is the devil that's got me trapped there to prevent me doing the things that I need to do in my own life. And yes, it is. Now, I'm not saying that this is my sister is in cahoots with the devil, but I'm going to explain something, and that something is, this is why I say to you, I don't mix with people. And you know, when I say that, people say, oh, you can't say that. You know, everybody does. Everybody has mixes. On a surface level, yes, I do. But I don't bring people into my house, especially people who have different standards, people who have different mindsets. Because in the same way that God uses people, people look at me and they say, oh, you're an angel, blah, blah, blah. What you're doing for your sister, nobody else would do. Right? So people who believe in God would say what I'm doing is a godly thing. Right? And in the same way, the devil uses people. Now, having come to a realization last night, it's a long story that I won't go into at this moment, because it's going even deeper into the spiritual realm. Alright, so having come to the understanding last night, I understand why it is me and not other family members who are here looking after my sister. And this will seem really harsh coming from me, and perhaps even judgmental, but the devil doesn't bother with people who are of no use to God. Right? I repeat, the devil doesn't bother with people who are not of any use to God. Now, I've been having experiences of a spiritual nature from the dark side for decades. Since I was in my 20s, I've had numerous experiences with the forces of evil trying to destroy me. So I question everything. I don't take anything for granted. So I have in the past asked myself, is it the devil who's got me here so that I can't live my life? And the answer is yes. I'm not going to tell you in what way, but those of you who are on a level and you understand spiritual things, you will know. All I will say is my sister's illness is not of a physical nature. It's of a spiritual nature. Now, when I talk about, development, be ye therefore perfect, striving for perfection, trying to be a bigger, better, stronger, human being in mind, in body, and spirit. Mastering your emotions, your feelings and emotions. When I talk about these things, it flies over heads. Well, here I am in a situation that is consequential, and I've said this so many times. People who know me, my good friends, they've heard me say that I don't do well when I get mixed up with my family. It's not a matter of it's because they are my family and we don't get on. It's because we are not on the same level spiritually. And therefore, the devil isn't partial as to who he will use in his war against those who have got, if you like, as it is my case, and I have known it for many years. The devil is not a respecter of persons when it comes to using people to destroy you, or to do his best to destroy you, or to try and prevent you from doing what God wants you to do. I have identified with Joseph for the longest time. I see all the parallels. In the same, his brothers tried to get rid of him because God had a plan for him. And if you look at their lives, if you go through the Bible and look at their lives, they were nothing, right? None of them were distinguished men. Joseph was the only one who was distinguished in any way. But it took him 13 years as a slave and as a prisoner in Egypt before he met with his calling. So I know I don't know in full, but I do know to some extent what my purpose is. And I do know, as I've said, that for decades the devil has been doing everything to prevent me from doing that. And he's gone so far as to put me in a situation where I'm trapped at my sister's place, unable to, like for example, I've gone out now, just had to pop out briefly, and I've needed to leave her in bed until I get back to get her out, sort out her breakfast, and basically for the rest of the day I will be flitting in between sewing and doing duties towards her. And this is how, like I said, for some people there's joy in serving. For me, I'm more interested in finding cures and solutions and in preventing sickness, disease, disaster. I'm more about that. So I've said before, I live risk-free. I've never ridden a bicycle, for example, going back to my to the previous video where I talk about my encounter with Simon Cowell and Piers Morgan. Recently, a few months ago, Simon Cowell fell off his bicycle and injured himself. And people have said to me in the past that I'm, banter, like you're a coward, because I've said I've lived risk-free. I've never ridden a bicycle. There are things that I will never do because they come with risk. Even if it's a small risk, I won't do it. So I live the kind of life whereby I can go to God and say it's your fault. Not because I'm looking to blame. I'm not a blamer. But ultimately, if God being the Almighty, if I do all that I can to make sure that I stay on the right side, and I've done that, then I have claim. I can go to him and say, hang on a minute, I did everything right. How come this has happened? Right, so that's what I mean about risk-free, to the extent that I'm very selective about who I, who I mix with. I've said I don't mix with people, not for the sake of it. If I need to engage with anyone, it's for a purpose. If I need to meet someone, it's for a purpose. It's not just because I'm at a loose end and it would be a good idea if we hang out. I don't do that. And people might label me boring or something, or weird, as I have been labeled weird, delusional, you name all the names under the sun. I've had those labels put to me by family members. So like I said, the people that you are around, well, I didn't say this, I'm saying it now. The people you spend time around, you need to make sure that they are not the type who can turn around and do harm to you. You could look at Judas. He was one of the 12 disciples. He was hanging around Jesus. He saw the miracles, so forth and so on. But he had a side to him, and something came over him, and it was that side of him that caused him to betray Jesus. But he, it was like instant regret, and he went and killed himself. What a waste. Now, so from my perspective, just as Joseph's brothers wanted to do away with him, obviously under some influence, the spirit, I've said that jealousy is a spirit, right? So the fact that Joseph was going to go places and the devil knew it, and the devil didn't want him to go places because his brothers were weak. They were so weak that the devil could take hold of them and use them. So similarly, I'm not chucking family members under the bus, but this is the reality. I don't have good outcomes when I'm around family because we are not of one mind. We are not on the same level. And so anything that comes from me, whether in the past or presently, it is of no value. It is of no value. Some of them view me as mad. Some view me as deluded, same thing. Some I'm difficult, I'm not a nice person, I'm this, you name all the derogatory terms that people can come up with. This is coming from family. So when I say that I have the same regard for family as I do strangers, it is a reality. I treat everybody the same. You don't get special treatment because you're family. For me, blood doesn't flow thicker than water. You are what you are, and you get treated accordingly. So yes, I'm here with my sister, and yes, I am trapped. But at this moment in time, the devil knows that he's lost, because for all that I've done for my sister these past months, it just serves to make me look good. Right? So that's all it does. It makes me look good. And as it says in Matthew chapter 5, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Now, I'm not going out of my way to shine. It's like you can't shine if you don't have a light in the first place. I just shine. Right? So when people say you're so good, there's nothing good. I've said this so many times. It's me being me. When a situation comes up, you don't want to wait until the moment of your crisis to realize that you're not equipped to deal with it. This is why we do personal development. We develop ourselves so that when things come, we can deal with them. I did a video the other day, I think it's 111, titled Hold the Line, in which I talk about Peter Hitchens. His brother Christopher, who is no more, was a hardcore atheist, written books there is no God, blah blah blah, that's him. And Peter, the opposite, he's a Christian. Now, it isn't by the things that you say that you are that God knows you. It is by your heart. So, for example, when Peter said he would never deny Jesus, and Jesus said, "Yeah, you will," Peter in his heart believed that he wouldn't, but he had to go through that process of denying Jesus 3 times to know what he was made of, and then to endeavor to do better. If you like to build back better, build stronger, right? So it's the same thing with Peter Hitchens, where he's surrendered and taken the COVID jab, as they call it, and listening to what he had to say about his reasons for doing it. His reasons are weak. My thing is this: if you know, people would argue with me and say sometimes you've got to sacrifice your principles. You never have to sacrifice your principles, because you're supposed to be willing, especially if you call yourself a Christian, you're supposed to be willing to die for the cause. You die with your beliefs wrapped firmly around your neck. Your beliefs, your standards, your principles. You go down to the grave with them. That's what you should be willing to do. There are no excuses. And so, for me, as Joseph said when his brothers, Joseph being the second most powerful man in Egypt at this time, 13 years after they got rid of him, they tried to kill him off. So when their father Jacob died, they're terrified that Joseph is going to take vengeance and do to them what they did to him, which is typical. This is how people think. So in my situation, in fact, Joseph said to them, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for much good," or words to that effect. So you see, God comes out of this looking good, because everything I do, like that song, "Everything I do it for you." I do things with purity, because I know God well enough. There's no point doing something because you're trying to get brownie points with God. That doesn't work. You've got to be genuine. So I genuinely am not I'm not what's the term I'm looking for? I'm not somebody who would sit there with my sister and say, "Oh, I will sacrifice my life for as long as it takes for her to get better." My thing is, what is wrong with her? Sort it out. She's not my responsibility. She's your responsibility. That's me to God. And I put forward my case for myself that, well, I've done all these things to make sure my life is okay, and this is what I get in exchange. So for me, I've lost nothing. I have lost absolutely nothing in being here. Yes, I've had sleepless nights. I continue to have sleepless nights and various other difficulties. I'm living in a confined space. But this just makes me look even better. The fact that, if you like, as I've said with Joseph and his brothers, Joseph was the only one that had any distinction about him. I'm not knocking my family, because distinction is a choice. And if you want to go around, as they do, some not all, and you want to be mocking and putting your version, creating a version that doesn't exist of me, because you're not on the same level and you have no understanding of the things that I understand, or of my reality, then that is your misfortune, and in due course you will be ashamed. So I'm going to wind up here because I've arrived back, but this is the video that I should have made this morning. It's much deeper than what it is, and at some point I will go into that. I will actually say in detail what it is I'm talking about, but those who have the Spirit of God, who are of sound understanding, they will be able to pick up and join the pieces that, find the pieces, put them together, and they will understand what I am saying. But at the end of it, irrespective of all else, God always comes out looking good. Even to those who cannot see it, who don't have an eye for spiritual things, believe me, God always comes out looking good. All right, so take care.